Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. And this one's thanks to you. You know who you are. Remember asking about Maid in Manhattan? Yeah, you said you liked it, but you wanted more than just like your average rom-com breakdown.
Yeah, great pick. Made in Manhattan. It's one of those movies that seems like light and fluffy, but there's actually a surprising amount to unpack there.
Right, like we're talking layers to this thing.
Yeah.
So to make sure we did this right, we really went all out on the source material. We've got reviews coming out our ears, Rotten Tomatoes, even that old Roger Ebert guy. And get this, we even found a YouTube video transcript, of course, totally packed with fun facts.
Fun facts are the best.
Yeah, like budget stuff behind the scenes.
Oh, and speaking of deep cuts, no deep dive would be complete without a little something special, right? So we even went and dug up a TV tropes entry on the movie. And it's honestly fascinating to see how Made in Manhattan uses those classic tropes, those familiar story beats, but with like a bit of a modern twist.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a Cinderella story without those classic tropes, right? We're talking maid meets politician, mistaken identity, glamorous ball.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course, the disapproving mother figure.
It's funny you should mention that because one thing that came up in the reviews is this question of whether Made in Manhattan relies a little too heavily on those tropes. Like, is it a clever homage or is it just a predictable rehash?
Ooh, good question.
Right.
That's actually a perfect jumping off point for us.
I think so.
So for this deep dive, our big question is this. Is Made in Manhattan a successful, like, updated Cinderella story for today? Or does it fall a little flat?
To really get to the bottom of that, we need to go deeper than just the plot, right? Like,
Oh.
what is it about those Cinderella tropes that still resonate with us today? Like, why do we still love them? And what does the movie have to say about things like social mobility or class or even just finding love in unexpected places?
It's more than just a love story. Right.
Okay.
So let's start unpacking all of this. Made in Manhattan takes us right into this, like, super luxurious world. We're talking a high-end Manhattan hotel where Marissa, she's a single mom working as a maid, crosses paths with Christopher Marshall, this charming, but maybe a little clueless politician. And then, of course, they get thrown together, mistaken identity, you're the drill, and suddenly it's all high society events.
And a romance,
Yes,
or at least,
like,
the
it's-
beginning of something like
Yeah.
that. Classic Cinderella stuff. But here's where it gets interesting. A lot of the reviews we looked at, they actually praised the movie for keeping it real, too. You know how it shows those working class struggles?
Yeah,
Especially Marissa as a single parent. I think that resonated with people.
totally. The movie doesn't shy away from that. She's juggling a tough job, taking care of her son, trying to make it in a world that, well, it often feels like it's working against you. And that's real life for a lot of people.
And that's what makes the Cinderella story work even now, right? That desire for social mobility, for finding love in unexpected places, for overcoming the odds. It's timeless. Made in Manhattan might not reinvent the wheel, but it takes those themes and makes them feel, I don't know, relevant to people today.
And speaking of relevant, one thing
Yeah.
that really got people talking was the chemistry, or some might say the lack of it, between J-Lo and Ralph Fiennes.
Yeah, several reviewers picked up on that. Like, there wasn't a lot of spark between them. One even kind of Fiennes bland, which is kind of harsh. But interesting when you think about some of his other roles.
Right. I mean, this is Voldemort we're talking about. To imagine him trying to be all romantic and charming.
It does make you wonder what happened there, right? Was it the acting styles? Or did the director want to downplay the romance? Maybe focus on other things? This is where a deep dive gets fun. Unpacking those little details, what do you think?
One reviewer pointed out that Fiennes' character, Christopher, he's not exactly oozing charisma. Maybe the director wanted a more understated love interest, someone who wouldn't outshine Marissa.
That's a good point. You know how in Cinderella the prince can be kinda just there to sweep her off her feet? Maybe Maid in Manhattan was trying to flip that, make him less obviously charming.
Still, some viewers wanted more, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that missing ingredient that could have made the movie even better.
Chemistry is so important in storytelling, though, especially in rom-coms. If you don't believe in the central romance, the whole thing kind of falls apart.
So true. Okay.
Yeah.
But even if the romance wasn't exactly sizzling, the movie had other strengths, like the supporting cast. Reviewers raved about Bob Hoskins as Lionel the butler.
Oh, Lionel. He's the heart of the movie. He's more than just a butler, though. He's like a mentor to Marissa, someone who sees past those class barriers.
Totally. There's this one scene everyone mentions where he gives this speech about dignity and self-respect and how it doesn't matter what your social standing is. It's powerful stuff.
And it shows how the movie tackles social dynamics and class, even within a rom-com framework.
Right. It's not afraid to acknowledge the struggles that real people face. how society can create these inequalities.
But it does it without getting preachy. Like that scene where Marissa takes her son to the hotel's rooftop garden. Visually stunning. But it also shows the gap between their world and Christopher's world.
Yes. And speaking of visuals, the cinematography got a lot of praise. One review talked about how it captured the grandeur of the hotel.
Yeah.
But also the contrast with Marissa's life outside those walls.
That visual storytelling is so important. It pulls you into the movie's world, the fairy tale and the reality. It's a good reminder that even though Maid in Manhattan is lighthearted, it's also dealing with some bigger themes.
Yeah, it's funny though, right? Even with all that depth we were talking about,
Right.
the movie still has all those classic rom-com moments, makeover scene, the ball, the almost kiss. It's all there.
And that's what makes it so interesting to dissect. Some reviewers love that stuff. They called it a modern take on a classic. But others felt like it was a bit too predictable, you know?
Totally. It's a tough balance.
Yeah.
Trying to honor the Cinderella story, but also do something fresh.
Exactly. Which brings us back to that original question. Is Maid in Manhattan a successful Cinderella story for today? Like, does it really work?
Yeah. What's the verdict? Do we buy it?
Well, it seems like, it depends who you ask. The reviews were kind of all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people found it totally charming. They loved the humor, the romance, the whole fairy tale aspect.
They just wanted to escape for a while.
Exactly. But then you have others who, maybe, well, they wanted a little more. They felt like the movie played it safe.
So it's like a love it or hate it kind of thing.
Not necessarily. It's more nuanced than that. It's really about what you're looking for in a movie. If you go in wanting a lighthearted rom-com with all the classic elements, you'll probably enjoy it.
But if you're hoping for something groundbreaking or, super original,
You might be disappointed.
so where does that leave us? Is Maid in Manhattan a good movie?
I think it's a good movie for what it is, you know? It's a modern Cinderella story. It delivers on that. It's charming. It's romantic. And it even has some interesting things to say about class and society.
Not perfect.
Definitely not. The chemistry between the leads could have been better. And it does rely on some pretty predictable plot points.
That's the beauty of these deep dives, though, right? We get to see all sides of it.
Exactly. It's about going deeper than just a surface-level viewing.
So for everyone listening, we want to know what you think. Did the lack of chemistry ruin it for you? Or were you able to look past that and enjoy the rest of the movie?
And what about those classic tropes? Did they work for you?
Head over to our website or find us on social media and tell us what you thought. And while you're at it, let us know what movie you want us to deep dive into next. Until then, happy watching, everyone.